The movie The Flesh Titan takes place in Ravenswood, a remote village nestled deep within a dense forest valley, where sunlight rarely pierces through the thick canopy. The village exudes a rustic charm with its thatched roof cottages, golden rice fields, and a small church standing quietly in the square. Life here is peaceful, with the villagers relying on agriculture and traditional festivals. However, an ancient darkness lurks in the forest, a secret only the oldest villagers remember through stories told around the campfire. Ravenswood is no ordinary village. It sits on land that was once the site of dark rituals centuries ago, where a mysterious cult attempted to summon supernatural forces. Traces of the cult remain, hidden caves in the forest, carved with demonic symbols, and an old altar stained with dried blood. No one dares to go near, but the curiosity of a madman shatters the peace, awakening the Flesh Titan, a horrifying monster, a symbol of insatiable hunger. The Flesh Titan is a colossal mass of flesh, taller than the tallest houses, with torn skin exposing tendons and muscles, stitched together from countless human bodies. Screaming faces are trapped beneath its skin, blood drips from its jagged teeth, and a long, spiked tongue licks the air, searching for prey. The cinematic horror lighting highlights every gruesome detail, from the crude stitches to its hollow, glowing red eyes.
I stood in the center of Ravenswood's village square, where the gentle moonlight bathed the thatched roofs. Laughter echoed from the harvest festival, children ran around with lanterns, and the aroma of freshly baked bread filled the air. Alex, a tall, broad-shouldered man with hands hardened from years of blacksmithing, held Sarah, his wife, close, their eyes sparkling with joy. "Ravenswood is our home," Alex said, his voice warm and deep. "There's no better place." Sarah smiled, her golden hair shimmering under the moonlight. "As long as you're here, I'll always be happy." But then, the ground trembled with a low, resonant thud, like the heartbeat of a giant from deep within the earth. I looked up to see the sky darken, clouds rolling in to blot out the moon. The laughter ceased, replaced by anxious whispers from the villagers. "What's happening?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling as she gripped Alex's hand. Before anyone could answer, a deafening roar tore through the air. I turned, and that's when I saw it, the Flesh Titan. A massive figure, twice the height of the tallest houses, emerged from the shadows. Its skin was torn, exposing tendons and muscles stitched together from countless human bodies, with screaming faces trapped beneath its flesh. Blood dripped from its jagged teeth, and its long, spiked tongue lashed the air with a hiss, searching for prey. "Help!" Screams erupted as villagers fled, their torches casting flickering light on the Titan's grotesque form. I saw Alex freeze, his eyes wide as the Titan lunged forward, crushing his skull with a thunderous crash. "Sarah, run!" Alex shouted, pushing her toward me. But before she could move, the Titan's tongue shot out, wrapping around her with a sickening slurp, pulling her into its gaping maw. "Save me!" Her scream was cut short as her body was absorbed, blood splattering with a wet squelch, and a new face appeared on the Titan's skin, Sarah's, her eyes filled with agony, her mouth screaming endlessly. Alex roared, "No." He charged forward, but I pulled him back as the Titan swung its arm, smashing another house with a deafening crash. Villagers scattered, cries and shouts blending into chaos. "Run!" Dr. Emily, the village healer, rushed over, her blue eyes blazing with determination. "Alex, we have to do something." Father John, the silver-haired priest, emerged from the church, clutching an ancient book. "This is dark magic. I've read about it. A creature like this can only be summoned through a vile ritual." Alex, tears streaming down his face, gritted his teeth. "I'll kill it. I swear." The next morning, Ravenswood lay in ruins, smoke rising from charred homes, the air thick with the stench of blood and ash. I saw Alex standing amidst the wreckage, his blacksmith's hammer clenched in his hand, his eyes red and hollow. "We need to find out where it came from," he said, his voice hoarse. "I will let Sarah's death be in vain." Dr. Emily nodded, examining a dried blood stain on the ground. Look, its skin has stitches. It's not natural, someone created it. Father John opened the ancient book, flipping through its yellowed pages. This is an old ritual called the Flesh Titan. A cult once used it to summon power, but they lost control. It needs an artifact to sustain itself, a magical heart. Who could have done this? I asked, my voice shaking as I remembered Sarah's face on the Titan skin. Father John frowned. Victor. He was the village scientist, exiled for his grotesque experiments. He lives in the forest, near the old caves. Alex slammed his hammer into the ground with a resounding clang. Then we'll find him. I want revenge. They gathered the survivors, about a dozen people, armed with torches and crude weapons like sickles and axes. I watched as they moved through the forest, torchlight flickering through the trees. The birds had stopped singing, leaving only the sound of wind rustling through leaves, carrying a chilling breeze. When they reached the cave, they found massive footprints leading into the darkness, the air thick with the stench of decay. Inside, the walls were carved with demonic symbols, and a blood-stained altar stood at the center. This is Victor's lair, Father John whispered, his hand trembling as he pointed to the altar. Suddenly, shadows moved, and cloaked figures emerged, Victor's minions. They lunged forward with swift steps, daggers glinting. Alex swung his hammer, crushing one skull with a sickening crunch, blood spraying with a wet splatter. Dr. Emily used a small knife, slashing another's throat with a sharp hiss, while Father John chanted, a faint light bursting forth with a soft pop, repelling the attackers. They pressed deeper, finding Victor standing by the altar, laughing maniacally. You can't stop what's sacred. The Titan will consume everything. You killed Sarah. Alex roared, charging forward, but Victor triggered a trap, arrows flying with a sharp whistle. Father John pushed Alex aside, an arrow piercing his shoulder with a sickening bud. Dr. Emily caught Father John. We need the artifact. Where is it? Victor pointed to the ceiling, where a black heart pulsed with a crimson glow. That's its life source. But you'll never reach it. As they fought the minions, the ground shook with a deafening rumble. The Flesh Titan appeared, smashing through the cave wall with a thunderous crash. It was larger than ever, blood dripping from its mouth, its spiked tongue lashing out with a disgusting slurp. A villager was caught, save me, his body absorbed with a wet squelch, his face appearing on the Titan's skin, screaming in torment. Kill it! Alex shouted, charging with his hammer. He struck its leg with a resounding clang, but it only roared, swinging its arm and smashing the boulder with a deafening crash. Dr. Emily grabbed a torch, burning the stitches on the Titan's skin with a sizzling hiss, the smell of burning flesh filling the air. It weakens when the stitches are broken, she yelled. Father John, despite his injury, raised his hand and chanted, Sacred light, break the darkness. A faint glow burst forth with a soft pop, forcing the Titan back with a pained roar. But it recovered, stomping down with a thunderous crash, crushing Father John, blood spraying with a wet splatter. No! Alex roared, his eyes bloodshot. He climbed the Titan, seeing Sarah's face on its skin, her eyes filled with pain. I'm sorry, Sarah, he whispered, tears streaming down his face. Dr. Emily reached the altar, her hands trembling as she touched the magical heart. I have to destroy it. She plunged her knife into it with a sharp crack, the heart shattering, light exploding with a deafening boom. The Titan roared in agony, its body convulsing, the stitches bursting with a sickening rip. But Victor lunged forward, dagger in hand. You won't destroy my masterpiece. He stabbed Emily in the back with a sharp hiss, and she collapsed, blood pooling with a wet drip. Emily! Alex shouted, leaping from the Titan, swinging his hammer to crush Victor's skull with a sickening crunch, blood splattering with a wet splatter. The Titan, now weakened, collapsed with a deafening crash, its body disintegrating, the faces fading with stating screams, their souls freed. I saw Alex kneel beside Emily, her smile weak. End it, for me. Her voice faded, her eyes closing. As light returned, the cave collapsed with a deafening crash. I saw Alex emerge, his hammer in hand, covered in blood and dust. Ravenswood was now a smoldering ruin, smoke rising from charred homes, the few survivors gathering around him. "We did it," he said, his voice hoarse, but his eyes empty. But the cost was too great. I looked at him, seeing the pain in his eyes as he remembered Sarah, Father John, and Dr. Emily. The wind blew with a soft whistle, carrying the stench of death and ash. "We'll rebuild," a villager said, their voice trembling. "That we'll never forget." Alex nodded, turning to look at the ruins where the Titan had fallen. "I hope you rest in peace, sir," he whispered, a tear falling to the ground. As they began to clean up, I knew Ravenswood would never be the same. But in the darkness, a glimmer of hope remained. They had survived the nightmare, even if only a fragment of themselves remained.